Shaylene Farrell vanished in 1994. One of her friends and family has asked that our channel help to get her story out there. Now, I know you're thinking because it was 1994, it's more than likely going to be an impossible case, but that is not always the facts. Somebody out there knows something. Her family deserve closure. Shaylene was born on June the 19th, 1976. She grew up in the state of Ohio. She is Caucasian. She has hazel eyes and long, dark brown hair. She was 5'3", and she weighed 135 pounds. Now, this is when she was 18 years old. But today, Shaylene would be 46 years old this year. This is her story. On August the 8th, 1994, at around 10 a.m., Shaylene, being 18 years old, took her mother's silver 1981 Chevrolet Malibu station wagon to a grocery store called the Pick and Save. This store was about 1.5 miles from their home in Piqua, Ohio. She was going to the store to pick herself up a bottle of iced tea. Now, Shaylene had been working part-time at the Pick and Save for 2 weeks, and she knew all the employees at the store. However, when the employees were asked had they seen Shaylene on this day of 1994, they all said that they had not seen her come into the store that morning at all. Shaylene had asked her younger sister, 14-year-old Colleen, if she wanted to go with her. But Colleen could not go because she was watching their 2 younger brothers while their stepfather, Dwayne Shelders, was sleeping. He had recently just went to bed because he worked the night shift at a local plant, and he was not even aware that Shaylene had left and not returned until he woke up that evening. Now, Shaylene's mother, Darlene Farrell, and her older brother were out of state at the time. Darlene's mother was having some medical issues and had been admitted into the hospital, and Darlene was with her. Now, at 7 p.m. that night of August the 8th, Shaylene's manager called to see why she had not shown up for her shift at work, and her little sister, Colleen, told the stepdad that her manager had called and she had not shown up for her shift. Well, Dwayne was irritated and annoyed at first. Thought she was just taking advantage of having access to her mother's car, and she was just hanging out with her friends instead of using the car to go back and forth to work. By the next morning, Shaylene had still not returned home. Her family became very worried, and so her stepfather called her friends thinking that she may have stayed the night at one of their houses. But he became really concerned when all of her friends said that they had not heard from her since August the 7th. Now, this was the day before she went missing, so none of them had seen her since Sunday. Well, then he decided to call Darlene, Shaylene's mother, just to let her know. And at that point, Darlene left her mother and came home the very next day. Dwayne went ahead and called the police department, and he reported Shaylene missing. Now, with Shaylene being 18 and an adult, the police assumed that she had just ran away. And the fact that she was an adult, she was free to come and go as she pleases, even though they were informed that she left with only enough money, probably just to buy the bottled tea. She had not taken anything with her, not money, not identification, no extra clothing, her new makeup, nothing. Now, shortly after the missing persons report was filed, police located the car in the parking lot of the Pick and Save, and it did appear that the car had been sitting there since the previous morning. The car or parking lot had no signs of any foul play, and Shaylene never made it into the store. This left police not really knowing whether she had left on her own accord or if maybe she had been abducted after she got out of the car. Police went and spoke with her friends, and they learned that she was just a typical teenager. She was looking forward to starting her senior year of high school in a couple of weeks, and she even had plans to become a school teacher. But none of her friends said anything about her having any sort of problems or issues and any reason to run away from home at all. The only thing that was said at all that was not extremely positive was that her mom had caught her smoking marijuana earlier in the summer, so she had briefly moved in with a friend for just a few weeks. Her mom just did not agree with that and was afraid that Shaylene may start taking a wrong path in life, and she pretty much told Shaylene, yeah, you're not going to do that under my roof. So she went to her friends. She only stayed a couple of weeks. Even when she was staying with her friend, she was still reaching out and contacting her mom 4 or 5 times a day. So it's not like she entirely just stopped talking to her family. And then, after a few weeks, she returned back home. Her and her mom never had any issues at all about that incident, and her mom just kind of brushed it to the side as she was just doing normal teenage stuff. Darlene also said if she was going to run away, she would have went and stayed with her friend like she did before. But this was not the case, and she knew it wasn't. And police found no indication whatsoever that Shaylene had been abducted. However, her family knew that was really the only thing that could have happened. The only thing that made police think that she was possibly abducted was the fact that she took nothing at all with her. So they eventually did ask the public's help in helping to locate her. And they even went as far as telling the media that there was a possibility that she could have been abducted. But there was no witnesses that came forward, even though there were several people that was in the parking lot at the pick and save. None of those came forward either, which meant that she must not have put up a fight or screamed or anything of the nature. So the only conclusion they came up with is that she must have willingly got into another car with someone she knew. Several people did call in with tips after her story ran in a local newspaper. One of the tips of possible sightings in the area. None, however, that could be confirmed. One tip even claimed that they seen Shaylene in the passenger seat of a vehicle on I-75 with a male driver. This tip also could not be confirmed as being Shaylene. Now, Shaylene's best friend, Amy, was convinced that she had been abducted. Amy had spent almost all day with her on Sunday, the day before she went missing. They were very close, and she feels like that if Shaylene was planning to just disappear, that she would have told her. Sunday, after the girls had cruised around town and visited with some friends, Amy dropped her back off at home at around 9 p.m. She talked to her on the phone a couple of hours later, and that is the last Amy ever heard from her best friend, Shaylene. See, another thing is Shaylene had just gotten her first check from the pick and save that Friday before she vanished. She had made $50, and she had given her mother like $30 to help with some of the bills, and she used the remaining $20 to buy her some makeup and a Tim McGraw CD. She really didn't have much money left when she disappeared. She also did not have a checking account or any credit cards at all. So she did not have money with her, nor did she take any of her newly bought items with her, her makeup and CD. Within a month of Shaylene's case beginning to turn cold, and with no leads or tips checking out, Shaylene's family grew obviously frustrated with police because they seemed to believe she had left on her own free will. Even though at one point they were leaning towards an abduction, they seemed to just slowly lose interest in Shaylene or investigating into her case, with the department only having 4 investigators. As the months went on, no one even knew of her case except the local people. Media had stopped reporting on it at all, as well as the newspapers. Shaylene's mother and family continued their search, and they handed out flyers, and many times people on the street wouldn't even take her flyer. Her family could not even get people to help them pass them out. Police said they had no evidence to show or prove that Shaylene was deceased. However, her family believed she was. They printed an obituary in their local paper, and they held a memorial service for her. They needed some sort of closure and somewhere to put some flowers on her grave and go talk to her. Even if it was an empty plot, it was in her memory. Now, there was a lot of talk and people who totally disagreed with her family doing this, because if she was abducted, there could be a chance that she was still alive. Police assured everyone that even though her family had assumed that she was deceased and had the obituary printed and the memorial service, that they would not stop looking for her, and they still had hope that they may could find her and bring her home alive. Investigators put in hundreds of hours trying to figure out what happened to her. All of this was to no avail, and eventually there were no more witnesses to speak to. There was no crime scene to investigate. However, they knew that someone somewhere knew something, so they made another attempt to reach out to the public by media, but very few tips came in. But then, in 1998, they did get a tip saying that 2 men had abducted Shaylene, and when they abducted her, they also murdered her and then disposed of her body in Union Hill, Ohio, close to the border between Ohio and Indiana. Upon searching the location, the tipster claimed that her body had been left. The search canines hit on 3 different areas. Investigators had those areas dug up, but there was nothing there pertaining to Shaylene. It was also reported that she was seen at a club in Greenville, Ohio, in the days shortly before her disappearance, and that someone who was there may have been involved in her murder. Piqua detectives do have 2 suspects, and they were both acquaintances of Shaylene's, and both of these suspects have been arrested in different states. At one point, one of the primary suspects in her disappearance was Christopher J. Below. In addition to Shaylene's case, Below was a suspect in multiple other disappearances and murders. He also pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter in connection with a shooting. He admitted shooting this girl at his residence, but her body has never been found. Ironically, all of these women shared very similar characteristics as well. And currently, Below is incarcerated in an Ohio prison. Now, all that said, please note that Below has only ever been charged in connection with 1 case. In any of the other cases, there was just only some links that connected him to them, and that includes Shaylene's. So it is only pure speculation and theory. Also, I think it's very important to note that during my research, I have seen that Shaylene's family do not believe that Below is connected to Shaylene's disappearance. However, authorities and family do still suspect the 2 men from Union City, one named Bob and one named John. One of these men were actually dating one of Shaylene's friends. Also, at one point, there was a serial killer that was possibly suspected in being involved. His name was Larry Dwayne Hall. He was listed as a suspect in her case at one point. He is speculated to be responsible for the disappearance of up to 45 women during the 80s and 90s. He is currently incarcerated at a North Carolina federal prison for a 1993 kidnapping and murder, but he has not been charged with any other murders since this one. And again, family does not believe that Shaylene's case is any way connected with this serial killer. There have been many rumors and speculations into her disappearance, one being she was abducted by a serial killer, and another being she was seen getting into a car with 2 men and possibly a female. But police do believe that she was killed very soon after leaving her own car that morning when she vanished from the parking lot of the Pick and Save. Shaylene's family do believe she is deceased. However, they have never given up on finding her and giving her a proper burial, and hoping to have some answers as to who took her and what happened that morning of August the 8th, 1994. Shaylene was last seen wearing her brother's white No Fear t-shirt with the words "No Fear" wrote across the front. She also had on a pair of blue Piqua high school gym shorts, and some black sandals. She was carrying a heart-shaped key ring that was decorated with blue sapphires and diamonds, and it had approximately 5 keys on it. She also has a brown mole under her lower lip. She has a scar above her right knee and a birthmark on her left thigh. She did smoke cigarettes and she drank occasionally in the year that she vanished. 4 of her teeth are missing, and she had fillings in 11 others at the time. Now, from looking at her photos, the 4 missing teeth must be in the back. If you have any information about Shaylene, please contact the Piqua Police Department at 937-778-2027. Also, in the description box below is other source information that you can contact with anything that you may have any details on. Nothing is too small. There is also a link to her Justice for Shaylene Facebook page. Remember, somebody out there does know something. You can remain anonymous, and you can also help to bring closure to this family, and Shaylene does deserve a proper burial. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, this is Unjustified. Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave us a comment below on your thoughts of this video. And until next time, this is Unjustified.